Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call this work session meeting of the Mayor and Council to session. At this time, I'd ask everyone to please rise for a moment of silent prayer and or reflection. This past weekend was National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Weekend, so we need to think about all of our firefighters, men and women, who risked their lives. In addition, we were thinking about the victims and the families of the shooting in Texas yesterday. Please salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please note the fire exits behind you into the main hallway, and to my right, your left, into the back of the courtroom. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to an advance notice of and attend any meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with this act, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of New Milford have caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Borough Hall, and notices have been sent to the Record and the Ridgewood News. The mission of this governing body is to provide essential services through the establishment and implementation of public policy that will safeguard the infrastructure, provide fair, honest, courteous, and professional services, establish a sense of trust and accomplishment between all residents, and through research and prudent planning, seek to minimize risk while improving our services. We are sensitive to the needs and satisfaction of our taxpayers, while realizing that this governing body cannot be all things to all people, within the revenue constraints imposed by state mandates, economic conditions, and prevailing attitudes about taxation. At this time, I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilwoman Sam Houston. Here. Councilman Rocky Hurley.
Present.
Council President Duffy.
She will not be here tonight.
Councilman Grotsky.
Not here.
Councilman Seymour.
He will not be here tonight.
Councilwoman Grant.
Here.
Mayor Petrino.
Here. And let the record reflect that our borough attorney is in traffic and he is on his way. So under unfinished business, may I have a motion for the approval of the minutes for the April 24th, 2023 public session meetings?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have a couple of ordinances up for adoption tonight. And when the clerk has the opportunity, I would ask her to please read 2023:20.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 29 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of New Milford entitled Stormwater Control, thereby amending Section 29-5 entitled Private Storm Drain Inlet Retrofitting, Section 29-6 entitled Refuse Containers / Dumpsters, and adding Section 29-7 entitled Privately Owned Salt Storage.
Okay, the purpose of this ordinance is to amend two sections of the Stormwater Control Ordinance regarding enforcement and to add section regarding privately owned salt storage. May I get a motion to open to the public for a public hearing on this ordinance?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ladies and gentlemen of the public, if anyone has any questions regarding Ordinance 2023:20, now would be the opportunity. Seeing that no member of the public has any questions, I would ask for a motion to close to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? May I get a motion to adopt this ordinance on its final reading?
Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Councilwoman Sam Houston.
Yes.
Councilman Rocky Hurley.
Yes.
Councilman Grotsky.
Yes.
Councilwoman Grant.
Yes.
The second one up for adoption tonight is 2023:21, and when the clerk gets the opportunity, I would ask her to please read the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend the Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of New Milford, thereby adding Chapter 21A entitled Lot Grading.
The purpose of this ordinance is to add chapter to the revised general ordinances of the Borough of New Milford regarding lot grading to protect against the adverse consequences of uncontrolled surface water drainage, prevent the increase in stormwater runoff from a site, and to prevent soil erosion and to control sediment disposition associated with land disturbance. May I get a motion to open to the public for a public hearing on this ordinance?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ladies and gentlemen of the public, if anyone has any questions regarding 2023:21, now would be the opportunity. I'm going to make room for you. Seeing that there's no member of the public who wishes to discuss this ordinance, I would ask for a motion to close to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? May I get a motion to adopt this ordinance on its final reading? Motion.
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Councilwoman Samuelson? Yes. Councilman Srocco?
Yes.
Councilman Grotzky?
Yes.
Councilwoman Grant?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're going to move on to new business, and item number 1 on the new business is Native Plant Urban Rain Garden Proposal. Councilwoman Sandhusen, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I would like to bring Lynn Torpy, the Environmental and Energy Commission Chairwoman, to share with the Mayor and Council a project that they've been working on related to the native plant garden. So also to reflect on the record that there are supporting members of the commissioners are here. So we have Peter Torpy, Lorraine Golden, and Bernard Lucas, who are supporting members of the Environmental Commission.
Excellent.
Would you like to? Yes. Have a chair. Oh, have a chair. If you like. Have a seat.
Get comfortable.
It's okay.
If we don't like what you say, we shock you. We press the button.
No, eject your button. I can't go for a ride.
Oh, that's a good idea. Don't put your arms on the table, that's all.
Don't give us any ideas.
All right. Thank you for listening to me this evening. Good evening, everybody. I'm here to let you know that the Environmental and Energy Commission has agreed to adopt a long-term master project, which has the rather unwieldy title of Native Plant Urban Rain Garden, Flood Mitigating Garden. We don't have a nice title for it yet, but it is a long-term, multi-phase master project that we would like your support for, your official support for. The area that we intend to rehabilitate, if you will, is Block 1524, Blocks 2 and 9. So it's the area bounded by Washington, Pine, Fulton, and the Brook tributary. Okay, so you can see it's connected to a lot of green space. We'd like to extend that green space. There's a lot of benefits for planting native plants. Native plants, first and foremost, absorb a lot of water, so they will help with flood mitigation. We can restore habitat, particularly for pollinators. There has been what's called an insect apocalypse. Now 50% of insect species have lost a great portion of their populations. Native plantings will bring those back because we all know that monarchs depend on milkweed. That same species-specific relationship holds for a lot of insects. So if we increase our native plantings, we can increase our insect population, including pollinators, but also caterpillars to feed birds and restore the native wildlife habitat as well. And native plants also provide ecosystem services to humans. There's carbon sequestration if you plant trees especially. There is floodwater and groundwater cleansing through the soil, and there's oxygen production. So native plants benefit us as well as native habitats and native species. So we'd like to replant the space using native plants exclusively. We'd like to use the space to both inspire and educate residents as to how to incorporate native plants in their yard. It's a difficult sell because of the lawn is king mentality that has been ingrained in so many of us, but there needs to be a shift to accommodating nature as well as accommodating people. And they have a perception that native plants are weeds. Many of them are called weeds, dewfly weed, butterfly weed. So we need to educate to change their perception and help them realize that native plants can be beautiful as well as beneficial. So we'd like to tackle this project in phases. There's a small grant for it from ANJAC already under consideration sent to them, and thank you for your quick action on that. Much appreciated. To start us out with planting some of the rain garden plants in the low-lying area of that space, which is still underwater as of a couple of days ago. So that will help flood mitigation. And again, we can get residents in there to see what these flood plants look like, they'll say, hey, it's not so bad, we can have put that in my yard. And the same thing when we move on to the city plan. So eventually the idea is to have the entire 2 lots covered with an enjoyable space that people can use for recreation, for peace of mind, and inspiration for native plantings in their home. So we'd like to ask for your formal designation of these 2 lots for this master project on an ongoing basis.
Now, these 2 lots, these were 2 lots that were recommended by Vince Cahill. They're former Blue Acres. Is one a Green Acre one?
Yes.
One was a Green Acre site, one was a Blue Acre site, so there's no issues with that. It's borough property. I think it's a great project. I think you touch a lot of different things. And like you're talking about, flood mitigation, but it also one day, shade tree, beautification, green team, recreation. So it touches a lot of different things. So I think it's wonderful.
And this would be a passive, this would be more passive recreation. This wouldn't be, that's not a space
Do
for
you,
No.
that kind of.
excuse me, sorry. Do you have a list of what some of these plants are that you could post on your site so maybe
And we can
residents?
post it on the Environmental Country Facebook page. Yes, I didn't think to bring that with me today. I did a rough site plan. A lot of them are ferns because the shallow spot also happens to be shady. So they have to be shade and wet tolerant, which is a little difficult. And others need a columbine, and others need a ferns, and there's pussy willows in there. There's a couple of things that tolerate a little bit more sun as well. So but I can plant that and give you the list.
Great, thank you.
I have one question.
Pussy willows are native to this area?
There are native
I did not know that. Also, milkweed, is that typical of this area?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, very much so.
Butterflies.
Yeah, there are a number of different species included, and most of them are native.
Do you have any concerns about the deer?
Oh, yes. Definitely. In that grant, I did account for deer fencing posts and fencing as well. So yes, it's not going to be pretty until they get established, and we'll have to understand that in any native planting, you have to feed the deer as well. And there are ways to minimize the surrounding wind, which they don't like. And things like that. But yes, I did.
I wish I'd done that last year when I spent $250 in my backyard.
No,
And
they do like
a
hostas.
strong scented thing.
They love
When
tulips.
gone.
When they're gone.
Just, if I may, one thing you should be aware of as you proceed is some of it is Blue Acres. They have restrictions on what we're able to plant, what we're able to do. We learned this with some of the things Vince was doing. I'm sure we can coordinate it since what you're doing is all native, which is what their main concern is. But in terms of any kind of fencing, that may not be permitted. Because you have to be able, it's the whole concept of Blue Acres is the waterway will go and come
Okay.
in storms, so we can't have it impeded.
This would be to protect the plants.
Doesn't matter
Doesn't
from
matter.
from
Even if it
from the
Even if
DEP's
it's open
perspective,
wire?
you just
doesn't.
you have to get their approval. And I know they didn't want fencing; they don't want anything that's going to impede the flow of water.
Touch base with the contacts to
Yeah.
find out.
So if you coordinate, you may head off a problem down the road that you're not aware of.
Thank you.
Sounds like a great plan.
Yeah.
Yep.
I look forward to seeing it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, can someone, Lisa, do you want to make a motion for the council for this project?
Yes, I
Support
would
the
like
project?
to, how does it need to be?
Designating the 2 lots.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to designate these 2 lots. I don't have, do you have the
1524.
1524?
Lot 2 and 9.
Lot 2 and 9, to be designated to the Environmental and Energy Commission for their master project of the Milford.
You can make the motion.
Just did.
Just
I
did.
did.
It's a second.
2 seconds. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Congratulations.
Yes.
Look forward to seeing it.
When do you think this will be done?
Slowly and in phases.
Okay.
What we should hear about the NJET grant for the plants mid-May, so hopefully in a week now. And then it's just a matter of checking the legalities and publicizing and creating some and ordering.
Well, I'm going to ask Lisa if she will update us every once in a while on the progress.
Oh, sure. The grant was written so that we would be refining site plan and purchasing plants, ordering plants this fall or planting in the spring. So they go out and get some things.
And it's for a small section, so this is it's a master project, so we're looking at,
You're looking at 10, 20,
this is an
maybe.
an evolution project. This is a long.
Right. It'll be done when we open up the time capsule again.
Yeah, this is a good project.
Yeah.
Worthy project.
And something like, for years to come, the Environmental Commission will continue to
Nurture and
whatever,
grow
that's still-
and-
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Excellent.
Move on to item number
Thank
2.
you.
Shade tree ordinance, Councilman Grotzky.
Thank you, Mayor. Last year, we lost 434 trees that we know of that were taken down with permits. The Shade Tree Commission realized that this is an extensive amount of money, not an extensive amount of trees coming down, and they have revised the ordinance, and they'd like the mayor and council to approve the ordinance. What they're changing in the ordinance is they're going to allow for 1 tree a year to be taken down by a homeowner, okay, with a permit. And if more trees are going to be taken down, they have to either plant the amount of trees that they're taking down on their property or give the town money so the town can go out and buy trees and plant them where they are. That's the basis of the change of the ordinance. I have Mike Justino here, who's the Shade Tree Chairman. Would you like to say a few words, Mike?
Yes, I would. Thank you. Mayor, council members.
Before you go, I do have a question, if you'll forgive me for a minute. You say take down 1 tree, that's per year.
Per year, you're allowed to take down 1 tree per year with a permit. If you're taking down, you're going to take down 2 more in that year,
Right, then you
you
have
either
to
have to
have
place them on your property or
on
you
your
have to
property. Or you can pay for it
funds,
funds.
yes.
As you're all aware, we're losing an awful lot of our trees and our canopy cover, because everyone knows trees are providing a lot of shade and reducing carbon. Just a point of reference, Norm, our former technician, who's no longer on the commission, told us at the commission that when he used to collect the weeds and store them on the swim property at the end of the fall, are about half of what it used to be over the last number of years. So that's just an indication of how many trees we've lost by the number of weeds which are being collected. So what we decided in the Shade Tree Commission is to try to stem this tide of people coming in and cutting down as many trees as possible. More times than not, people come in and buy a new home or just want to do the home. They cut all the trees down. It's the first thing they do. It's called clear cutting. That's not the proper term for a home because it's clear cutting is a forestry term. So they just remove all the trees. We're trying to stem that tide and make it as punitive as possible without being draconian.
Have you increased the penalties for doing that?
Yes, we have.
No, the penalties are still the same.
Well, the penalty is...
If you take down a tree
Yeah.
without a permit, the maximum is $2,000 per tree. That was what is in the old ordinance, and that is what is in the new ordinance. We didn't change that.
Yeah, I'm
Our
sorry.
major concern is just to save the trees in the borough, because we're not going to have any trees.
Does this apply also to dead trees or damaged trees?
No, dead trees or damaged trees does not
There's-
apply. It's only the health.
There's an exception for those. Those are emergent type situations. And the big change in the ordinance, because I helped Councilman Grotzky and Vince, and the commission has gone back and forth. And in the middle of this, the state also gave best practices, and this is consistent with the best practices. But we're expanding the scope of the commission to not only borough trees, which are in the right-of-way, but to private trees that are on people's property. But the vast majority of what was taken down have been private trees. I
But a
think
substantial size. So we're not trying to get people to not cut down anything. We limited the size to 4 inches at what's the standard, which is TDH, or diameter pressed by 4.3 feet. So anything 4 inches or above is a tree that just would be protected, fall under this ordinance. Anything smaller than that the homeowner can take out without any consequences. Yes.
I have a question. I'm not sure I heard correctly. Are you allowing the most 4 trees a year off of private property?
One tree.
One tree.
So what was the 4?
No,
That's
I can
4
hear.
inches.
4 inches
No, I mean,
deviation.
prior to you saying the 4 inches,
Any-
what I was saying.
Any more trees above 1 per year, you have to either replant on your property. So if you take down, say, 4 trees, you're allowed to 1 tree, 3 trees you either have to replace, or pay the borough to go out and buy
Okay,
3 trees so they can plant it elsewhere.
thank you.
Will the cost of replacing a tree be steady, or is
Right
that,
now,
is that
the
in
way
the
the
ordinance?
ordinance is written, it is up to $350 per tree.
Up to?
Yeah.
How do you determine
Sizable tree.
Size
the replacement?
Yeah,
And
we have,
that's,
we have scale.
and that's up to the borough?
It's in the ordinance.
But that's up, the
It's
borough makes a
enforced by the
decision.
borough,
And the species of the trees, are you,
Yeah, we got a
yeah.
list
I have
of
a list
20
as
trees.
well, approved trees.
And so those are the basic changes to the ordinance.
That's it.
So we need a motion to put this on the next agenda for introduction.
Or do we just say we're putting it on for next?
You don't need a motion, I'll just prepare it if everybody has no more questions.
So we'll put it on the next agenda for introduction. If anyone has any other questions, or the 2 council members that are not here have questions, they can ask at that time. Right, sound good?
The goal of the ordinance is to preserve the tree city status, really. You've lost a huge amount of your
Yeah.
canopy.
And to be within the state's best practices as well, 'cause
And the state has recommended that this kind of
Actually,
ordinance
yeah.
be adopted.
Just as an aside, if I might, the most efficient way of reducing carbon in the atmosphere is just to plant a tree. All these other initiatives are out there, carbon capture and dumping carbon into the ground, require additional energy input. And that's just, the tree doesn't. The most energy that's required for a tree is to plant it. So it just does it by itself. There's no additional maintenance. We don't have any additional energy added to it.
I'm a big fan of trees. Great idea.
We all are.
thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, thanks.
Okay, yeah, I know.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Looks like we did a promotion, right, and everyone's leaving. Item number 3 is project graduation. So project graduation, as everyone knows, it's run kind of by a private organization that fundraises for high school graduation every year. Each year, they require police officers to ride on the buses with the students when they go from graduation to wherever secret location they're going and back. The police department and the borough have a history of donating 2 officers, meaning we pay the cost of the officers on overtime to do the event. It's usually 6 hours, whatever it is, 8, 12, whatever,
The chief said it was 14.
14 hours, whatever, depending on where they're going, determines. Project Graduation reached out to me this year, and they are asking if we could help them with 3 officers this year because they want 1 per bus. I guess, I don't know if it's an increase in the amount of students that are going, but they are asking us for 3. So I bring this to here to say, what is your pleasure? You want me to go first?
Yes.
I think I don't have a problem with 3. I know it's a little bit additional cost for us, but it's for the safety of students on graduation. Project graduations over the last couple of years have harder times fundraising due to COVID and all these other things going on. So a 3rd officer kind of wipes them out, and it just negatively impacts students. So I would have no problem doing it, but that's your call.
Is it the group of parents that pays for this, or is it the Board of Education that pays?
Board of
for
Education
this?
is not funded. It is all donation.
Oh,
It used
By
to be,
year.
it was,
right, but it's the parent organization that pays for the police officers as well as everything else.
Project graduation, that umbrella,
So this year they're having 3 buses, where in the past they've had 2.
I don't know if they've had more in the past or they had funds for an additional. I've been on project graduation since '93, so
I think that they may have used other chaperones, and that might have been something that they're not able to do.
able or comfortable with. That, I don't know.
Parents with the chaperone.
I think it's an opportunity for us to, help out, chip in. I know it's an extra cost, but you guys make that call. I don't.
I don't have a problem with it.
I don't see how we can say no, although it's a difficult budget year, I will
It's a
say.
difficult budget year.
And, it's,
So then, excuse me.
it's still a relatively minimal amount.
So
Yes.
this 14 hours?
We don't know
for-
if it's
we
40.
don't- I just want to say, just because, not anything about project
Sure.
graduation, but I remember that one of the last times we discussed it, one of the concerns was that when other organizations ask for the support, like even our own fire department,
Right.
we limited it and asked for contributions from them. So just from that perspective, we have to be aware of the fact that it could be asked of us in other.
And I think we did ask them to split it last year,
I was,
which was the crisis year for them.
Well, I think what happened was they asked for 4, and we said, we're going to split it. And then they said, okay, we'll take 2.
We had a busing issue last year too that we don't have this year.
they,
There was another issue.
they being the organization, not the Board of Ed.
The parents weren't able to
Right,
be on the
somehow,
buses.
last year the Board of Ed was somehow involved in the conversation.
That was for the buses, right?
What happened last year was a ruling came down, the parents could not be covered on the buses for a variety of reasons, so it was always chaperoned by the parent volunteers. That couldn't happen, so they needed the police, and the police I think were always included as well for safety reasons, so it came down to the 2, and we wound up picking it up.
Frankly, I would think that the Board of Ed should be asked first.
I don't know if the board was asked. I was reached out to, and
In the past, the last few years, the parents were paying X amount of dollars per student to go on project graduation.
I think that's still an
That's
element
still-
of the.
Oh, it still is? But prior to that, it was all fundraisers. At least,
these are students that graduated. They're New Milford residents.
Right.
That's what you have to think of. Like,
yeah, I'm
we
just
donate
saying.
to.
Can we
I have
cap it?
no problem donating to.
So
Can we
do
cap it? Yes, I will agree with it.
Yeah, but how can we cap it? If they needed,
I
No.
took that back.
You say cap it at 3, which is
I
fine.
don't, yeah, yes. I'm concerned that if next year they need 4, or
That's
the
what
year
I
after
did
they need
first,
5,
too.
or, other organizations start asking for this. I mean, I don't know if this is opening a kettle of fish. Nothing personal against them. I really think they do need the protection, absolutely. Just how we can minimize our, what word am I looking for?
Financial commitment.
expense.
Okay, that'll do.
If you want to cap it at 3, I think that's fair. I think it's
Well,
reasonable.
I'd like to cap it at 2, with an exception this year, perhaps, for the 3. I'm concerned that next year it'll be 3 again, and then maybe more after that. So what are we committing ourselves to? Just this year or going forward?
Or a police officer on
I think
bus.
No,
it
that
should be
is
a
not a
case by
problem.
case situation each year. I don't know.
Do we know how many students there are in the school?
I don't know how many are going on project graduation.
All right, I move that we pay for the
Yeah.
3rd police officer.
Ira seconded.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
So who made the motion?
Henry made the motion. Ira seconded. Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, item number 4 is our social media policy, and Mr. Kevin Kelly, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. We had discussed at the beginning of the year updating the social media policy. I circulated a draft for your consideration this evening. The main thing that was talked about by the council is trying, to the extent possible, to limit chat functions on the respective sites because of a variety of reasons, including creating a forum, which it's not really intended to be. It's more intended to be informational. I've also gone through a number of sites from the League of Municipalities and have basically taken some of the best, at least in my opinion, some of the best issues and some other social media policies that they've put up. One of which at one time was New Milford's. We were one of the first to have a social media policy, so the League featured New Milford's, but it's no longer up there. So
That was what, about 8 years ago?
yeah, I'd like to get back on. So that's why I'm upgrading this. But this is for your consideration and possible introduction. I've added a better definition of social media, although I note Reddit is in it twice. I have also established that we have to comply with FOIA and OPRA, which is basically best practices. Again, we give the borough administrator more control. I talked about the chat function. And then I've included some of the prohibitions for the purpose of protecting the public, such as we don't want social media being used to report crimes because it might not be seen. We want them to call the police. Same thing with the whistleblower. We have other mechanisms to do that. And we don't want it just to show up on a Facebook post. Also, I was concerned about copyright infringement. If someone did have the ability to post something might be copyrighted material, it could
We have
be.
to put all of these disclaimers on there?
That's what's being recommended by other boroughs and the league.
That, or don't we just have a link to the social media policy, or I think we required a statement that we follow it? I don't
We
recall
would
exactly what it
post
said.
it. I think currently it should be on the website, and we post it. And this is just really an update of what we have.
It's longer.
A little bit, not much,
On
not much longer.
No, you added that last page.
Yeah, and those are all the basic disclaimers that are protecting the borough.
Where would you post that?
Where we have it right now.
No. It's
I would-
on all social media sites.
I
Where
would
you go?
recommend on our borough homepage, we have a link to it.
Okay, but then that says on all social media sites, so we gotta change that.
That's up to them.
So on individual.
We should have this policy on our site, but the individuals should somehow put this, for example, Facebook, they could put this in the information section of their page. They can cut and paste it right into there.
Can,
That's a lot.
well, can it say,
No one ever had a problem for listening to a lawyer when they said that's a lot. It's when you don't listen to the lawyer that you have the problem.
what if
We just
in that little spot on Facebook it says,
see, so,
see the New Milford's social media policy with a link to our
Yeah,
website with the thing?
They can do
Oh,
that.
that's-
However, whatever's the easiest, we can figure that out.
That's how
Well, then I
we do
just
that.
think that by saying it has to be on all, they're not following it if it's not, so can we reword that maybe?
Can- say that there's a
Okay.
link to it.
I
Say, give a link to it.
can do whatever you wish. This is what I recommend.
Link.
All I'm saying is, if we adopt it this way, then it has to be on everything, because that's what it says.
And it took me all of 2 seconds to cut and paste it from the recommended site into this document. And I'm confident our social media people can do the same thing.
But you're talking about the-
Administrator.
Well, that's a different story.
You're talking about the entire document.
No, I just, basically the terms of use.
Oh, just in terms of use at the end, that one last page?
In terms of use disclosure to be posted on
Right.
all.
The next to last, the
All they
last
have
two
to do
pages.
is basically post it, at least for Facebook purposes, into the about. Just cut and paste it right in there.
I will say that it was one of the first policies I had recommended it after I'd come back from the league and listened to a talk about it. And, I'm glad to see it's lasted this long without needing to be updated.
They
but
just
you're right.
took it down, but they're up, and we're not the only borough going through this. A lot of boroughs are updating it. Some are a little more draconian than ours. I didn't think that was necessary, but, ours is pretty good.
Swiftly just changing, right?
Yeah, what's the name of it? They might keep the name, but yeah, another company just purchased it. Swift Reach.
The, on the
It's
second
Nixle
page
or-
where it says, to the extent possible, shall deactivate the chat function.
I haven't done that.
It's a comment section.
Yeah, I mean, can we add something specific about,
I can change that.
Comments?
That's my nomenclature, so we could say the
The
comment
comments,
function.
yeah.
Change chat to comment.
because I think that's more clear.
A couple of typos, I'll tell you about them later. Thank you.
Yeah, I like how this is going to give us a record now of who is running the pages for each group. They have to register with you.
Well, they were supposed to have done that
Yeah,
before.
they were supposed to do it.
Yeah, that was the.
Yeah, that
We're
was
gonna make
the
sure
earlier
they do.
version.
And the concern is, of that is not to be overreaching on all the organizations. The concern is Oprah applies to this, and we want to support them by just knowing what's going on. I don't think people realize that.
Or if someone moves, right, and no one knows who ran it, how they ran it, what the password was, and
We can't turn it on to the successor.
right. So we want this on the next agenda as well?
Yes.
Yeah, subject to any edits you have, which you can reach out to me about, and then we don't need an ordinance
I
on
mean,
this.
there's
It's just,
typos or stuff, you could just,
yeah,
I'll just, yeah.
we can clear that up, and then
There shouldn't be any because it says that all posts should have correct grammar and tone.
And they
It's fine.
should, and they absolutely should.
so it would just be a resolution to adopt
to
it.
adopt this policy.
Okay.
The amendment to the policy, we still have the policy.
Sounds good.
In the meantime, I'm going to cut and paste that and try to put it in the about.
You should be able to do it.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
No.
Do we have digital copies of these? Did you
Digital.
send-
Yes, right? We did.
I
Yes, you do.
think Chris
Yeah,
sent it.
yes.
Okay. Anything else on that for now? Can I move on? Schedule updates. Saturday, May 13th is Stories from French Burying Ground. Sponsored by the New Milford Historic Preservation Commission. The time is from 1 to 3 p.m. at the French Huguenot Cemetery, next to the Elks Club. And the rain date is May 20th. There is information on it on the borough website. On Sunday, May 21st, is the MVAC building dedication. It is sponsored by the New Milford Mayor and Council. The time is still TBD. I'm still waiting to confirm a time because we're trying to coordinate with a bunch of different people who have different work schedules. It will be at the MVAC building, which is 213 River Road. There is no rain date. Monday, May 29th is Memorial Day. At 8 a.m. on the Borough Hall lawn will be the New Milford Fire Department Memorial Service. At 9 o'clock will be our annual Memorial Day Parade. It's sponsored by the New Milford Public Events Committee. The lineup is at River Road in Chiquino. Last year we were in the new parking lot, the new Knightsfield parking lot. Lineup will be there once again. It worked out very well. There is no rain date, and for more information, you can go to the New Milford website. The New Milford 100th Anniversary Committee is putting out a last call for 100th Anniversary brick pavers. The deadline is May 17th. Anyone who wishes to purchase a brick in memory of someone or a family name, please do so. The order forms are either, you can get them at outside the clerk's office, or you can go to our website and print it. The bricks will be going around the gazebo, where the time capsule will be buried, and it's a pretty cool project. And it's going to look great when it's done, so get your bricks now. Is there any other events that I missed from any of your committees or
I
commissions?
have one to add, Mayor.
Let's add one.
The Environmental and Energy Commission is in partnership with the Bergen County Audubon Society, is hosting a bird walk at the New Milford Woods on June 3rd, which is a Saturday at 10 a.m.
10 a.m., June 3rd, Milford Woods.
Milford, okay.
Yeah.
Milford Woods.
It's in partnership with the
Bergen County Audubon.
Audubon Society. Okay.
A bird walk, it's called.
At what time? I'm sorry.
10 a.m.
Thank you.
at the New Milford Woods.
Okay.
Swim club parking lot.
Rain dates?
No rain dates.
We'll get a picture of a bird and we'll put it on our announcement section.
Okay. Getting in some of those announcements.
Yeah.
I think a robin.
We got a lot of eagles.
Okay, anything else? Any other events? Okay, then we're gonna move on to number 6.
Just want to
Go
double
ahead.
check. The break is definitely the 17th, because I thought I saw something posted 15th. The 17th is a Tuesday.
Yeah.
I might have heard wrong. We were at the time capsule
I heard.
burial and I thought it was
15th
17th, so 15th.
That's what I heard.
You have until the 15th. Don't wait, get it in now. Right. Okay, administrators report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have a very short report today. May 16th is the last day to register to vote, and May 30th is the last day to apply for a vote by mail ballot for the June primary. I was at a meeting with Bergen County Board of Elections today, which was very interesting. We're going to be using new voting machines for the first time in the June primary. They have been used for early voting, so if anybody has done early voting, it's the same machines that were used for that. Training is underway for poll workers. Voters should expect a new process when they go to vote, and there will be instructional videos which will be posted on the Bergen County Board of Elections website. One thing that is different, you'll know that in some locations we have more than one district. From here on out, they're not going to be separated by district, so if you vote at the VFW where it's districts 3 and 5, you don't have to find which table to go to. You're just going to all go to the table where they're checking people in, and you'll be able to be checked in whether you're in the 3rd district or the 5th district. So based more on location, and that's how they're going to be handing out the equipment as well.
Will there still be 2 machines per district, even though they're not
It
separated?
depends on the district, and it depends on the number of voters in the area. So they're going to all of our locations are scheduled to have, I think off the top of my head, they call them ballot marking devices. So it's 2 machines, and they're double, that are ballot marking devices, and 2 scanners. The exception is at the middle school, we're going to have 1 district that's going to have 1 and 1.
Interesting.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm really
Oh,
glad
good
that they're
luck.
doing it on the primary.
Good luck.
Oh, boy.
They have something now
There'll
that
be a
they
low
have
voter turnout.
called a super
Yeah.
poll worker, which they're going to have a lot of responsibility, and they're going to be paid a little, actually a good amount more than a regular poll worker, but they have a lot of responsibility, so they're still recruiting super poll workers. But they have been able to pare down the number of poll workers that they need overall because they are doing that combining of things. So I did ask how many poll workers will be generally seen in a location, and they said you should have at least 1 for each piece of equipment. So in addition to the 2 the ballot marking machines and the scanners, we're also going to have 3 poll pads. So in my estimation, I'm expecting I'm going to have a minimum of 8 poll workers at every location.
8 at every location?
We'll see how that works out.
How many we had? Okay.
Well, generally, I mean, it depends on the election. They try to put like 4 in each district. Sometimes that's at least. Sometimes it's 6. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Like I said, glad it's for the primary. And I'm glad it's not a presidential election this year. So get some practice.
Never a good year to test out new things.
We were actually very surprised when they told us that it was going to be for the primary, because that was not necessarily the original plan, because they were kind of phasing them in different locations
So this is not throughout the county?
throughout the
Oh, it
county.
is throughout.
And then the only other thing I have on my report, is that our next meeting is Monday. The second meeting in the month of May is going to be on a Monday, which is very unusual. Just so happens the way that it falls because it's the 22nd is the fourth Monday. So
It's always been a Monday.
well, no. Usually we're on Wednesday because of Memorial Day,
Ah.
but with the way the holiday falls,
Okay.
yeah, we're actually having a Monday meeting, the last meeting. Okay. That's it for me. Thank you.
And the other thing I want to add is, we've mentioned the gazebo and a time capsule. So, the 100th Anniversary Committee suggested or recommended to me that we could rename that gazebo the Centennial Gazebo. Being that's where the bricks are going, that's where the time capsule is, and that is also where our 100th Anniversary dedication plaque is. I spoke to Dan Connor. Dan Connor is the father of Stephen Connor, who built that gazebo as a Boy Scout project.
I'm married with kids by now.
When I asked them, they were absolutely honored. They are in love with the fact that this gazebo has turned into so many things for the borough. We do so many events there. We light it up. I've done probably 50 weddings there, and now the time capsule is going next to it. So they gave their blessing and is very excited. And they said, when you put that sign up, make sure you send us a picture. So I want to send it to you guys. May I get a motion to rename the gazebo on the Borough Hall lawn as the Milford Centennial Gazebo?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Vince is all excited to make a little old-fashioned sign that hangs off of it that says Centennial Gazebo.
Very nice.
And the only other things I have are, if anyone on the governing body is interested in participating in the 12th Annual Town Cup Challenge, the kayak race, with the Riverkeeper in Veolia,
Maybe next year.
let me know. And the other thing I wanted to let you know is that the county reached out to me. They are applying for a grant to the Garden State Historic Preservation Trust Fund and the New Jersey Historic Site Management Grant for the Waterworks building. So they're applying for a huge grant to move that project further. They asked if I would do a letter of recommendation on behalf, and I did. So if anybody wants to read it, I have it here.
Oh, that's terrific.
We are crossing our fingers that they get some money for this so they can move forward. Everyone's seen the billboards and the plans for it, so it's something.
Federal money or state?
This is federal money, federal and private money. We're all interested in that moving along since it's technically in Ordell, but it's a part of New Milford. It has been and it always will be a part of New Milford.
Thank you.
Has everyone had a chance to look at the resolutions? Are there any that need to be pulled for further discussion and/or vote? Okay, if not, at this time, I would ask for a motion to open to the public for public comment.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ladies and gentlemen of the public, if anyone has any comments regarding the welfare of New Milford, step on up. Okay.
Motion to close to the public.
Make it a second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Really?
May I get a motion to approve resolutions 2023:121 through 2023:123?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there any other business before this council? If not, before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I just want to wish all the moms out there a very happy upcoming Mother's Day.
Thank you.
It's a very special day. May I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Do you want to let Uniska know? She's at graduation.